Hi AP Biology students, welcome to video lecture episode 10. Today we're going to pick up on slide 26 and this is titled Biological Clocks. Now let's talk about some terms in connection with that, and that would be circadian rhythm, which is ultimately the biological clocks. It persists without environmental cues and it has a frequency of 24 hours and then it starts over again. Now let's talk about the phytochrome system and the biological clock together. Plant can determine time of year based on the amount of light or darkness it gets, so it's in connection with its own biological clock. Now let's move to slide 27. Let's talk about a term that's photoperiodism, physiological response to the relative length of night and day, for example, flowering. So we got three different examples in here. We have short day plants, long day plants, and day neutral plants. Short day plants, they flower when nights are long. Mums and poinsettias are some example. Long day plants flower when nights are short, such as the spinach, the iris, and veggies. Day neutral plants are unaffected by a photoperiod, such as tomatoes, rice, and dandelions. Night length is a critical factor, so keep that in mind if you ever do grow any vegetables or any plants in particular. Now, moving on to slide 28, there's a question that says, how does interrupting the dark period with a brief exposure to light affect flowering? Well, if you look on this visual here, it gives you a graphic of a short day versus a long day plant, just so you can kind of see how light can actually affect that. And if you notice, they give you an example within each of these two different plants as well. All right, we can see this image a little bit bigger on slide 29. All right, now slide 30. We're going to get to a little subcategory called plant responses to stress. All right, so let's go to slide 31. Let's talk about two things, and that would be drought and flooding. So drought is when there's a water deficiency. H2O is not as much there. So what does a plant do in response to this? Well, they close the stomata. They release abscisic acid to keep stomata closed. They inhibit growth. They roll their leaves to reduce surface area and transpiration, and they have deeper roots. That's what happens during a drought. Now, what happens during flooding? During flooding, there's actually a deprivation of oxygen. Okay, so they release ethylene, the root cell death. Air tubes are formed to provide oxygen to submerged roots, so they try to compensate for what is lacking, if you've noticed already. Slide 32, we'll talk about three more. We got excess salt, heat, and cold. With excess salt, the cell membrane impedes salt uptake and produces solutes to lower the water potential, in other words, to retain water. Then we have heat. What they do is evaporative cooling via transpiration, heat shock proteins which prevent denaturation. So that's during excess salt and heat. And then lastly on this slide here, cold. Alter lipid composition of membrane. In other words, they increase their unsaturated fatty acids and they increase their fluidity. They increase cytoplasmic solutes, and antifreeze proteins are created as well. All right, so let's go ahead and let's finish up what's left of this chapter, chapter 31. We'll talk about two more responses to stress that plants have, and that's herbivores and pathogens. All right, under herbivores, we notice they have thorns that are physical deterrents. They have chemical deterrents, such as garlic and mint, that will deter herbivores as well. And they also recruit predatory animals, such as parasitoid wasps. So that's just three ways that plant responds to the stress of herbivores eating so that they can survive. And then last one we're going to talk about is pathogens. So the first line of defense is the epidermis. That is the outside layer of the plant. The second line is pathogen recognition host specific. So they actually have stuff that can help them fight against particular pathogens, which I think is pretty amazing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that closes our discussion for Chapter 31. Remember Chapter 31, if you've forgotten what that was exactly, ladies and gentlemen. That was another plant section. In particular, it was talking about plant responses to both internal and external signals. I do hope this lecture and the other lectures have been helpful. Have a nice day, and I look forward to reading your comments below. Take care. Goodbye.